Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Right from the day of independence, and as a matter of fact, much before India got independence, there has been a demand for a uniform civil code. And this demand has been repeated ad infinitum, and it has been opposed. It's quite an anomalous situation that in a country that prides itself on secularism and equality, there are different laws for different people. And to obviate that issue, a uniform civil code is required. Now, there have been two comments, both by Singh Jaspal. One is, why is there a need of such a code when things are moving smoothly? Or is it the requirement of any particular political party? And then there is a response to that by another gentleman that yes, all citizens must have the same rights apply to the same situation. Now, both these comments are partly true. A, things are not moving smoothly. They move smoothly if there is equity. I don't say it should be equality, but there should be equity. There should be no sense of entitlement where there is. And the uniform civil code, in fact, is a contradiction in terms. It's required to establish a level of equality or equity so that one community does not feel discriminated para passu other communities, or there's a feeling that the other community is getting pampered. There's a Muslim personal law. Sikhs were objecting to a Hindu court bill. They wanted an unmarriage act to be performed, though an unmarriage had been recognized under the Hindu court bill. Back then political is needed. So the second part of the comment is the requirement of political party? Yes. But this was also the demand of Congress party, and it was incorporated in the Constitution, Article 44. Now the second is all citizens must have the same laws applied to them in the same situation. That's ridiculous. You cannot have the same laws in a multi-ethnic society. Even the Constitution has protected the rights of Nagaland, Manipur, parts of Assam, Gari, Khaso, and Bastar areas, because their customary law is much more important to them and to the country. Otherwise, the whole social fabric would be torn. So these comments, and second comment again by Singh Jaspal, but what exactly constitutes as uniform civil law? And who does it apply to in what form? And he refers to the reservation policy, which was supposed to be valid only for 10 years, but it has been extended, making it a mockery. 100% agreed. Unfortunately, politicians always try to misuse a law to promote their agenda, A, and to create vote banks. Now, the Uttarakhand Chief Minister and even Yogi Adityanath, another UP Chief Minister, they have come up with the concept that once they come back into power, they'll have a uniform civil code for the state, which is legally incorrect. It's not possible. You cannot have a uniform civil code. Uniform civil code means applicable to the whole country. So if Uttarakhand makes it, or Goa makes it, it's not applicable to the whole country. And that's what I'll talk about, even the anomaly of the Gone Act. So, this is a way of putting wool on the eyes of the people. For example, the UP CM said that if elected to power, they will have a uniform civil code for the state. Many believe that a UCC will remove all inequalities in one stroke and create a gender just society. Absolutely incorrect. Although I'm in favor of uniform civil code, but not in the way it is being projected. You have got to remember that the formal equality cannot bring about a radical change. What society, and especially the Indian society today, needs is substantive equality. UCC, if you look at the 60-page poll manifesto of BJP for Uttarakhand, finds no mention. BJP manifesto for 2019 Lok Sabha elections said there cannot be gender equality without UCC, and a promise a UCC would be drafted in the best traditions and harmonized with the modern times. What does that mean? The implication is that the UCC could include the best provisions of all personal laws, which is the Muslim personal law, in the Hindu Code Bill. Now, coming to the Hindu Code Bill, this bill, people say it was in 49, 50, 52. No. The first committee was constituted in 1941, and it took 14 years to pass the legislation. And this is not one act. There are three acts: Hindu Marriage Act 1955, Hindu Succession Act 56, Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act 56. And then all reforms could not be incorporated because of the opposition from the Hindus themselves. Even Congress leaders like Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Patabhai Starmaiya, M.A. Iyengar, Madan Mohan Malviya, Kailash Nath Karju opposed such reforms in a debate in Hindu Code Bill in 1949. There were 28 speakers. Out of 28 speakers, 23 people objected to it. Then Swami Kartapati Maharaj formed a committee, anti-Hindu Code Bill. And the justification was, why should there not be a polygamy for Hindus? They wanted unregulated polygamy. There was a magazine, Gita Press, Kalyan. They published a number of articles favoring polygamy, opposed the Hindu daughters' right to inheritance, questioned the Constituent Assembly's right to legislate on religious matters. S.P. Mukherjee, the founder of Bharatiya Janata Dal, said that instead of Hindu Code Bill, the government should bring a UCC, Uniform Civil Code. There is a substance in this argument. And if we look at it, the Muslims have their personal law, and that law has been amended, reformed in Pakistan, in Turkey, even in Saudi Arabia, but not here, because that's a holy cow. Now, do you remember that B.R. Ambedkar, the father of Constitution of India, who is worshipped today as the father of Constitution, had to resign as a law minister on this issue of Hindu Code Bill? He resigned. September 15, 1951, Rajendra Prasad, the president, threatened to return the bill or veto it. So the bill was not passed. Eventually it was passed after several years, but it was in 2005 that the daughters got a share in Hindu joint family property. And even today, only 3% daughters get. So where's the fun of having a bill, or act, or a law which is not implementable? Now, and if you want to understand UCC, then you have got to understand Article 44. Article 44 of the Constitution says very clearly that the state shall endeavour to secure for citizens a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India, not in the state of Uttarakhand, not in the state of UP, but throughout the territory of India. And the definition of state given in Article 12 includes the government and Parliament of India and of each state and local bodies. Now, if state means state government or local bodies, can they make a uniform code applicable to whole of India? Ridiculous. Imagine, there are the municipal corporation making a law which is applicable to whole India. So this was an essential mistake in Article 44. And then the constitutional framers use the term uniform, not common. That comment I was referring to. Common means one and same in all circumstances, which is what the protagonists of UCC are saying nowadays, which is wrong. It is not common, it's uniform. Common is one and the same for all the people all the time. Uniform means same in similar conditions. So different people may have different laws, but the law within a particular group should be uniform. And such a classification is permissible under the right to equality under Article 14. Civil means personal rights, not public rights. Contract, sale, purchase of goods, etc. And code, the word code, does not necessarily mean one single law in every circumstance. So here the politicians are running around the world trying to confuse people. So people think if code is there, then it's applicable. No, it's not. If it's uniform, it's not applicable. Common, if it is, yes. So if it's a common civil law, it will be applicable to everybody. Uniform civil law will not be applicable to anybody. Article 44 uses the word state shall endeavor. Other articles in the directive principle use take steps. The endeavoring is just an expression of desire, not take effective steps. So what is used in the directive principles? Strive, take steps, shall in particular direct its policy, shall regard it as a primary duty, shall be the obligation of the state. These are the phrases used in directive principle. But here, as for the uniform civil code is concerned, they simply say, it shall endeavor. Endeavor can only be in thought. Now in this connection, we read Article 43, that state shall endeavor by suitable legislation. Now suitable legislation word does not appear in Article 44. So this is current. Now India has different personal laws because of the religious diversity. And then the laws differ from state to state. And the state and the center both can make laws. As the personal laws are concerned, they are the concurrent list. Now imagine, in North India, marriages between uncles and nieces and nephews is not permitted. In South, it is permitted in the Hindus. It's a myth that the Hindus are governed by one uniform law, as I said. Marriages, for example, as I told, between close relatives are prohibited in North, not in South. The lack of uniformity in personal laws is also true of Muslims and Christians. The Constitution, as I told earlier, promotes protection to local customs of Nagaland, Meghalaya, Mizoram. Now people are crying ad nauseum that Goa is governed by common law. This is bullshit talk. They have not read the laws. Some popular, half knowledgeable, semi-literate preacher comes up and says that Goa is an ideal state. Does he know that the Hindus in Goa are still governed by the Portuguese family and succession law, not by the Hindu court bill? The reformed Hindu law of 1955 is not applicable to them. Then unreformed laws on Shastric Hindu laws on the marriage, divorce, adoption and joint family are valid. As you call Goa to have a uniform civil code. The Shariat Act of 1937, which governs the personal law of Muslims in India, is not applicable to Goa. The State of Muslim Act is governed by the Portuguese laws there, as well as the Shastric Hindu laws, but not by the personal laws of Muslim or the Hindu Code Bill. Even the Special Marriage Act, which is a sort of a progressive civil code, is not applicable there. So while the Uttarakhand Chief Minister and Yogi Adityanath favor a common civil code to ensure equality, where, as I said, code is not law, which is enforceable, uniform by its definition is not common to all, it should be common civil law. Have we seen that the Hindu laws, which we say are the examples, have not completely removed gender discrimination? The amount of land actually inherited by Hindu women is only 3%. And even when they inherit land, it is much less than the equal share. The power of will is used to give the entire property to a son. So father can make a will and say, no, my son will get the property. So where is the application of the law? It's not enforceable. You see, what is required is that this has not to be taken at the state level, first thing. It has to be taken at the federal level. So if the government really is serious, the state, one way forward would be to constitute a Muslim law reform committee. Second, tribal and indigenous law reform committee. Third, Christian and Parsi law reform committee, just like the Hindu law reform committee formed in 1941. And based on their recommendations, it should take the reform process further. Then you also need a Hindu law committee, as some of the existing codified Hindu laws, as Satpati, Kanyadan, joint family system, tax benefits, absolute testamentary powers, may not find a place in the uniform civil code. And the provisions like the dowry or Nikah are to be incorporated in UCC. That way, the manifesto of BJP of 2019 was very valid, and that should have been implemented. But the other Hindus of Uttarakhand, who constitute 83% of the population, or 85% population of Hindus in UP, ready for these reforms? The purpose of a UCC should ideally be reached in a peaceful manner, like the recent amendment on the age of marriage. Do not forget that you do not need a uniform code. You need a just code. A just code, a civil code, is more important than a uniform code. Make a law that the marriages, in whichever way they are performed, are acceptable. Make a law that there shall be no gender inequality. Make a law that monogamy is the accepted form and the people who practice polygamy would be punished. Whether Hindu, why bring in religion at all? So this Pandora's box need not be opened. Just make a law for all the citizens without discrimination. And that needs, as I said, formation of committees so they can coordinate their efforts. The first mistake was setting up that Shariat law and the Hindu Marriage Act. At that time, it should have been ensured that it's not taken, especially when the Hindus were opposing the Hindu Code Bill. The law minister resigns. The President of the Republic threatens to send it back and veto it. So, first, forget it that you can have a uniform civil code. You need a common civil law. These petty politicians of the state should forget that they can make a law applicable to all the citizens in the country. It is a prerogative of the parliament. They can make some law, but then they forget even the concurrent powers. If a central government makes a law and the state government makes a law and there's a contradiction in those, then ultimately the law made by the central government is valid and not one made by the provincial government. So why are they indulging in these meaningless exercises which have no validity? And the sooner they recognize, as I said, I'm in favor of a common civil law, but I'm not in favor of a uniform civil code because that's a contradiction in terms. But would these ignorant politicians try to understand the implications? They do not even listen to their advisors. That's the unfortunate part. And they start raising slogans, and the party, their followers, without any application of mind, possibly they don't have a mind, at least a working mind, follow suit. As I said again, the 2119 manifesto of BJP should have been implemented, without doubt. But care should be taken to ensure that it's really meaningful and not just something to satisfy the petty urges of certain politicians. Thank you.